number 8 on Film Villains 31 Greatest Horror Movies of All Time. It is Night of the Living Dead.
Oh man!
They're coming to get you, Barbara.
Eric, what do you think of this one? You've been quiet.
I think it's one of the best movies of all time. I mean, it basically created zombies as we know them today.
Yeah.
And they shot the picture for what, $180,000, and it was just some kids from Pittsburgh.
I think less. I think they started with 60,000. Wasn't it in the can shot for like 60 grand?
Really?
It was really cheap.
It was cheap.
Yeah.
What was it? 10 guys, and they all put 10K or something in.
That's how they started. No, 10 guys. They all put in they got like 6 grand. They all put $1,000 in.
Yeah, right.
So they started with just that.
And this probably was the first independent horror or independent film that was like the biggest of all time, like box office hit. Maybe Easy Rider later.
And
later,
but just a year later.
We because of the whole copyright fiasco, we have absolutely no idea. There's only people have ideas about how much money Night of the Living Dead made when it ran theatrically for 30 years. But no one really knows because there was so many bootleg copies that were floating around and people were printing it, running it and not getting permission. But all the needle drop stuff and the fact that it's 1968, but it feels like something much older. And yet it's so ahead of its time in terms of the gore, in terms of the horror, in terms of the social commentary. So it's this really weird, when you watch it today, I don't think people realize that when we were watching it on TV a lot in the 70s and the 80s, it was like, this movie feels like something from the 50s, but it's so modern and scary. But the music and the performances, everything, the black and white, there is no other movie like Night of the Living Dead.
Yeah, I mean, he pretty much took his cues from probably 1962's Carnival of Souls, which was another, very unknown.
Partially, this is one of those movies where all the limitations that they had, they made work for them.
Yeah,
that you can't replicate. There's just it's a very, very special. I mean, obviously, I'm not saying anything new. It's a very special movie.
Yeah, maybe he was taking some other cues from like Hitchcock's like Rope or Lifeboat, where you have just a small amount of characters and their drama.
I will say
together.
there's the two big influences. I know we got to move on. Matheson's I Am Legend and the film adaptation of I Am Legend, the first one, Last Man on Earth with Vincent Price.
Yeah.
If you go back and watch that movie, it feels like Night of the Living Dead. Yeah. And it's odd. It's a really it's not as good a movie at all, but it's a pretty solid movie. But it feels like Night of the Living Dead in a way that is like unique to Night of the Living Dead. So I always am like, it's interesting. You can actually kind of smell the influence when you're watching.
Yeah, I found the book and the Last Man on Earth version or movie because of Night of the Living Dead.
Sure. So all movies we should definitely watch for sure. Or if you have not seen them, but all right.